But then we came back up above the orb, and that loss I took, I made it all back because this was a clean ass breakout. Broke high a day, and then this was the previous day high, I believe, because it was inside day. No, it was previous day high. There was a level there, I can't remember. Maybe order block, but I just rolled it up, took profits on the way up. It was well over 100% before it started coming back down, so took profits there. All right, Tuesday, tight ass orb range. We get the break. I entered on this candle that you could barely see the candle. I entered live. I did do that because I'm trading my stop loss. I know some scalpers got wicked out on that pretty badly because they saw this candle. I'm like, oh, it's scary, I'm gonna get out. But boom, next candle does almost $2. This is a $2 drop in this one candle. So when I entered this, it whipped me back up. I was down like 60%, but then I came back to like 110% on this one candle. Took my profits there. Boom. I'm out of the play fully. Didn't leave no runners because we hit a pivot. Look, we hit exactly the pivot. Then I see we come back up to retest the orb. We form a green shoot off of it. Then we form a red longer shoot off of it. It's back below VWAP. I'm like, okay, we could ride it back down to the pivot at least. I didn't take that, but once I saw we sliced through this pivot, I got in. And then the next two candles printed another 100%, and look where we bounced, right at the pivot. I took profits. Okay. And another thing I want to mention is this right here. I'm gonna start incorporating this in my trading strategy. I don't have much time to talk about it now, but this was a fail 2 on a 30-minute, and that shit printed. And basically what fail 2 is like it's basically like a hammer or a shooter. And if you see that on a 30-minute, those things print for reversals. So I didn't do it this day because I just kind of got exposed to that strategy, but I'm gonna start incorporating that, and then once I get the back testing done, we can go over it, as a group. But yeah, it went straight to the pivot, whipped off of it, took my profits. All right. Wednesday. This was a beautiful orb day. Look at this. Straight dumpy. Let's turn off the pivot so we can see. Look at this. I think this was CPI, right? We had CPI come out this morning or something like that. There was some news Wednesday. Or is that was last week? Okay, whatever. Anyways.
No, CPI was this week.
Oh, was this week? Okay. Look, we get the break of the orb. I like that candle. I'm in it. Now it's important to have your pivots on when the orb. You can have your pivots turned on before the orb level is even set, because the pivots are calculated once today's price action is closed. The pivots for tomorrow are already calculated because the pivots is just a formula of today's price action divided by 3, and then they plug it into a formula. That's all what the pivots are. So I see we broke the orb, we bounced at this pivot. I said we get a break of this pivot, we're going to go to support pivot 2. What we do, we broke support pivot 1, went to support pivot 2. This shit printed. Again, with the failed 2s on the 30 minutes, this little green box here, this was a failed 2 on the 30 minute. I'm going to show y'all what that looks like. These calls went like 10,000%. I couldn't trade it because I was away from my setup. But like I said, I'm back testing the 30-minute failed 2s. So what day was that? That was Wednesday? Where's Wednesday? Look at this shit. Look at this. Let me move this. You see this red hammer here? That's a failed 2. That means it took out the low of the previous candle, right? Because we know with the strat, a 2-bar means it takes out either a low or high, but it failed to close below the candle. So a failed 2 off the 30-minute, and look at this shit. Rip. And remember that other failed 2 we had on Tuesday? Look at this failed 2. Took out the low, but couldn't hold below it, and it ripped up. This one was insane. 10,000% on SPX. $1,000 turned into $100,000. That's what that means. $1,000 turned into $100,000. And we're gonna catch it because these failed 2 reversals, they're beautiful. But again, let's get the orb down first, and then I'm gonna do some back tests on this, and then bring y'all into the fold on it. But yeah, you got a beautiful orb play to the downside, and guess what? Orb play to the downside. You patient. you get an order play to the upside too, and then we just literally go from pivot to pivot into close. So maybe you were biased. Maybe you were like, oh, CPI gonna be good, but then we dumped and you didn't want to take puts. That's cool. Once we break above high today and we break above the orb, I mean, why not get in calls? We back above the 9, back above VWAP. We're running, we're trending. Why not get back in calls? That was 2 opportunities. If I was at my setup when this reversal happened, I would have took it. But I had already made so much money taking the break. No need to be greedy. Or no need to force a trade at that point. Today, all right? There's a lot of chatter about today's org. Okay? This was a very strong break. Very, very strong break. I got about like 20, I got like 35%. I trimmed a little bit and it stopped me out. Okay? Stopped me out, but I'm trading my stop loss. I'm trading my stop loss and I trimmed some around 30%. Keep in mind, when you see a pivot from yesterday, so this pivot is from yesterday. Even though it's not today's pivot, the pivot from yesterday, if you see it still lingering on the chart, if I can still see it on today's price action, you gotta respect it. And we basically bounced straight at this pivot. I thought we would slice through it, but we didn't. We basically bounced right at the yesterday's pivot. And really, you have to keep the prior day's pivot into consideration because we're doing daily pivots off the 5 minutes, and all the pivots add up to be a weekly pivot. So you got to still keep in consideration. If you can still see the pivot from yesterday on your chart, like we can here clearly, you got to keep that into consideration. All right, so I take a little bit of profits here. I get trailed out. Okay, cool. I know we had a crazy ass move yesterday. We dumped, and then we recovered it tremendously. So the market is probably going to be a little choppy. Probably not the best day to take you just got to let price show its hand on days like this. We break the orb to the upside here. I didn't take that. I didn't take it at all because I just knew we would be a little choppy from yesterday, and because this first orb play didn't work out. I figured we had to give the market some time to settle. Okay, we break it. We come back down. We wick off the bottom. So technically, if you took this orb play, you could still be in it. You could 100% still be in it. We still holding above it. But we can't break below. We go back up. We come down, but we can't break below. So this is a good indication that, there's still some hope alive if you're in contracts, right? The third time we come back above it, I get back in. Well, actually, the third time we come back above it, I'm watching it a little more. I say if we break high today, we can run. What do? We broke high today, and what do? We ran. Now, this is a great example of us breaking the orb and not hitting a pivot. So my target is always going to be a pivot when we break the orb, but I'm not going to hold all my contracts until we touch the pivot. I'm gonna scale out. Contracts from breaking high of day to here actually did 170%. Are you going to hold this until it gets, are you going to hold your full position until it gets to the pivot, or are you going to take profits on 170%? You should be trimming and taking profits because it didn't reach the pivot. Sometimes it won't go to the pivot, but the pivot is always the target. So we broke high day. We ran up. My target was the pivot. I see we get a little exhausted at 170%. I mean, it's other groups that don't see 100%. So 170%, I trim out most of my contracts and I leave runners. Runners got cooked, but I took most of my profits at 170%, so I'm good. So that's the orb recap for the week. We went over, 4 days of price action, and every day the orb worked. Every day. The problem is you guys probably got a little cocky off of yesterday. Yesterday we had beautiful price action off the orb to the downside and to the upside, and you probably over leveraged and lost more money than you should have. When you should have just been trading your stop loss and you compound your gains from the orb, and then you size up slowly as you compound your gains. So it worked every day this week. I just went over it. It worked every day this week. You probably just over leveraged and you got caught. You got caught being greedy, and the market don't care. The market's always gonna get theirs. You gotta outsmart the market and get yours. That's why I say always trade the same amount. Trade your stop loss. Any questions?
I just want to make a statement about trading that'll like it's so simple. But if you look at the charts that she went over of the S&P, right? What's the common theme? The common theme is you get the clear move in the afternoon. When do I call on my Q trades and spot trades in the afternoon? So my point is, if you wait for the market to show you what's actually happening instead of rushing within the first hour, it's so hard to trade the ETFs the first hour. Unless I say like we're gonna rip at open, then yeah. But some days it's choppy, and if you're trying to trade chop, you're not gonna make money. I promise you. So like I said, the common theme is when it breaks out, it keeps going. So just wait till 12 or 1. Like the market has been moving so much, patience pays. And that's just all I want to say. Be careful trading first thing in the morning. So
Yeah, good point. Good point. Patience does pay. Yeah, I mean we did have moves in the morning, but he's right. We had even better moves second half. And you could still use the orb second half. Like look at this day. This broke at 1. 3 hours left in the market. If you got in here at 1 with 3 hours left, those zero dates printed.
bruh, I was buying calls were ripping. That's my point. Like Meta jumps up another 5. Like shit rips into close, so you can buy a contract and make 100% so easy. I do it every week, and it's really not that hard. Um, when the SPY and Q are moving $3 in 30 minutes, everything is flying.
Yeah. And then lastly, I just want to touch on Unity. I don't know why this came on my radar today, but I pulled it up for some reason. And look at this. Look at this order break. Let's turn off the pivots, right? Look, I pulled it up way after it broke the orb. Well, actually, I pulled it up when it was around its first resistance pivot, I think. Yeah, I pulled it up after it broke its first resistance pivot. Strong bullish candle. Remember, if it breaks the orb, you can wait for a retest. If it breaks the orb and breaks its first pivot, you can wait for that retest of that pivot to get in. This shit was just running. On this candle, I saw that like it wasn't gonna pull back, and I entered it lightly. I didn't signal it because I've seen the pivot retest, but I haven't actually traded it to see how it works to backtest it. But I entered this, and these were like I took next week's contracts because again, I haven't done this much. And the next week's contracts did 600%. This week's contracts did 2,000%. And this was off of a late entry. Oh, excuse me, not 600%, like 300%. It was ADGO that did 600%. But yeah, I mean, turn on your tickers too. It'll help you with your tickers too. Like, look at this. Yesterday, I don't even trade Unity. I just look at this. Broke the orb, went to the first support pivot. Boom, take your profits. Then what happens? It comes back above the orb. Test the actual pivot point, retest the orb, takes off in the close. So, like I said, if you're struggling entries, just throw the orb on there. It'll help you tremendously. And use the pivots as your targets. But that's all I got. I gotta go. I'm gonna turn it back to you, OptionsKing.
Cool. Have a good night.
See y'all.
Bye. One thing I asked her to do was start posting her flow in the watch list so it just sits there and we can all see it because I talked to her. And if you guys are in the chat a lot, you probably know what I'm talking about. She'll drop like, okay, a bunch of calls are coming in for this, and it winds up working out like 90% of the time. So she did that with Tesla, I think twice in the past 2 weeks, and Tesla ripped every time. She posted the AVGO like 2 days ago, 60 call, 160 for next week. That shit literally went to 500% in like 2 days. So like you can do crazy stuff with trading. That's why it's important just to stay patient. I'm not gonna day trade all day for 30% gains. That's stupid. You can literally find 2 good setups that'll run for 300% in 2 days, and you'll make more money than just day trading all day. So that's just my style. Like everybody has their own, but I'm starting to get better with a few things that I need to work on. And swing trading for a couple of days is what I needed to work on because I repeat myself all the time. But I'm looking at daily and weekly charts. If we get in the beginning of the week, it's supposed to keep going. Best Buy broke down, went to my price target, it bounced there, I sold there. Like You just gotta have targets. So that's why you always try your best to leave runners. And I'll just give you a few examples. AMD worked out, Best Buy worked out, and then Meta. We can touch on Meta, and believe me, I know it's hard. It gaps up. We're up like 150%, so you want to sell all your contracts, but Meta can rip. It's bullish, and that shit wound up going up another 8. So if you use the strategy of just leave a runner, if it's going our way, see what happens. You would have made another 150%, 200% on Meta, which is a lot. That would have been like $300 per contract. That's a game changer. And like I said, I know it's hard, but I feel like if you're like it's going the way I'm choosing, just leave some contracts. It works out, believe me. So I just want to give you guys some advice on that. Believe me, I know it's hard because it took me years to get that shit down, and I'm kind of getting the hang of it now. So yeah, I feel like it just makes sense. If you're making a bet and it's going your way, why exit? Why exit all? It just makes no sense. So it's been working out for me. Nah, Rogue's not a guy. But feel free if you want me to go over anything from this week or whatever.
Okay, what are pivots exactly?
So the pivot points are basically like levels on the chart using a formula. So she said it's three level, something and something divided. I think the day is high and low divided by three or something. I
Oh
don't use
shit.
any. I don't have the best explanation, but they are levels. Like so many indicators have levels, but they work good as you see. Like if you have a level on the chart and something literally bounces there to the T, that shit works.
Right.
Best Buy literally ripped off there. If I kept holding, I would have lost all my games, like all of them. So that's why it's
So
important.
what she's using is like a already indicator.
Yeah,
Like she's not
yes.
doing that math.
Nope,
Oh,
nope.
oh
It
right,
just
right.
populates. You click pivots and it has the formulation. It just overlays on the chart. She uses the orb to get into the play, and she uses the pivots for her targets.
Yeah, I've gotten pretty good with the orb, but I just kind of use, like the nine still, to kind of move
Yeah,
me around. Them
no,
pivots,
that's fine.
them pivots look like they're pretty spot on though. I mean, every week for a few weeks now, she's been um throwing the pivots and shit. I mean, they look pretty. They're pretty spot on everything she shows us.
You want me to tell you something? Like I don't know. It's fucking crazy, but it's just like the most obvious stuff that people don't do. So like believe me, I used to have targets and I wouldn't take them there. I would sell early, but now I'm holding shit to target and it's hitting 100% every time. Abby went to my target and I sold and it bounced like BBY. So yeah, I mean levels are supposed to work. Not all the time, but a lot of the times. You know what I'm saying? So
We just need a big percentage of the time.
yeah. But with that being said, something might not always go right to the quote unquote pivot, but that's why, as she said, if it's going in your direction, you're gonna be taking some profits off the table before your ultimate target. So
All right.
like I already sold some BBY before it hit my last target, but that's fine because I made a good amount, like what, 70% right away or some shit like that, and then the rest went to like 200. So, you know, um, yeah.
Nice. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And he just dropped a pivot points like preview down in members charts if anybody wants to check it out. But um no, I don't think she gave out her pivot settings, but to be honest with you, I don't use it, but it should just be like I don't know, like just a button you click for like a daily pivot or 5 minute pivot. I don't know. She said something about it was 3 days or something. I don't know. You can hit her up if you want. But yeah, that's how she trades, and when the stuff on her orbs are breaking out or breaking down is doing the same thing on my setup too. So like the days we were dumping and she said you could have took puts here, the Qs and SPY broke pre-market lows and they were below the 9 in VWAP. So everything, like most setups or most people's strategy should be aligning, because if we're going up, everybody's bullish strategy should be doing the same thing. So that's why when it comes to trading, just find out what works for you, and if I think something's bullish, you should think it is too. You know what I'm saying? So there's no right or wrong way to do this. You just gotta find your groove, and I just found a super easy formula. Like I just keep it very, very simple. What's the candlesticks look like? Does it have open interest on contracts? Is there volume? I'm in. So buying calls at the bottom, puts at the top. Try to keep it simple. No, I do not remember. I don't have enough brain power to keep up with your questions from a few days ago. I can tell you what you should have done on J&J today, Ash. That would have not let you get clapped. So with J&J, right? I'll just tell you what I would have did. So you're looking at a daily chart and it's about to break down. So you're assuming that J&J is gonna make a big move, right? So instead of buying next week's contracts and playing it safe and making 30%, if you bought this week's contracts, you would have been up 50 to 80%, and then you would have sold most instead of holding on to some, because you made so much money in a short amount of time. So with that being said, if you see a good setup that's gonna move, don't play it safe and buy contracts for next week, because you're not gonna make as much. And then if you do hold and it reverses, you're gonna lose money. But we're not thinking about holding when we're getting in weeklies. We're thinking about selling. So that's just what I would have done. I know maybe you wanted to swing it, but the market's kind of bullish, so it bounced. But like I said, weekly contracts are better if something is gonna make an explosive move. You could buy some of next week's too, but like my biggest position, equity size, would be on the weeklies if I think something's gonna rip. So Meta's gonna rip tomorrow, I'm buying this week's contracts. BBY is gonna tank, I'm buying this week's contracts. AbbVie this week, because I'm gonna make more money. So that's basically what I was going to tell you on how to manage risk, because when it comes to managing risk, if you're going to get in something that's going to go, you're not even going to think about managing risk. You're going to think about managing profits. So when you like, that might sound funny, but we're getting in stuff and it's going right away. So, you know, um, weekly contracts, if we make 50, 60, 70, 80% in an hour, we're selling most and leaving runners. That's how I manage risk. I literally buy stuff that rips, and then I take a lot of it off the table, like 70, 80%, and I swing the rest. And then it either goes or it doesn't. It usually does, and it goes to like 300%. So that's how I manage risk. But I think that happened to somebody the other day. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with next week's contracts. It's just you just gotta know what does what. So like if you want to play it safe and you want to hold for a couple of days, you're like super busy at work and you can't stare at something, then yeah, it makes more sense to buy next week's. But I have so much time to just watch stuff. So like maximizing my profits would be using a shorter dated contract. So, I can give you an example of a play I called that I did call it a 3 week contract. So it was Nike when they wound up dumping for earnings like 2 months ago or whatever. And it was a bottoming setup that was going to take some time to go. So that type of setup, you buy 2-3 weeks because it needs some time to go. I wound up selling for 100%, and then like Nike ripped like another $5. So, stuff like that, you give yourself more time. Shorter dated things, boom, weekly. Well, that's that. Good question.
What are we gonna do tomorrow?
I swung some stuff, and if it doesn't work out, gonna day trade.
Do you think we're gonna keep going up?
Yep.
I was thinking the same thing. I got ruled today, bro. Lost well, I'm up for the day, but the last trade I took, I got rolled. I stood
You
in front
short?
of a moving train. Lost 7 G's. Wasn't good.
Yo, I wish you got like. I'm not even trying to sound funny, but like, you guys gotta listen to me. Things are gonna go in the path of least resistance, and the path of least resistance is up. Like we held last week's low. The reversal from the big day we dropped and reversaled up, that's a signal in your head. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It dropped so much but closed all the way at the top. That's a lot of buying momentum, and people start shorting. They're like, stuff's too high.
Yeah.
Nvidia's went from 100 to 110. I'm buying puts. It goes to 115. They buy puts again. It goes to 120. It's a squeeze. You can't short squeezes. Don't buy puts because the Q's ripped $4 in an hour at one. It's too risky. Believe me.
I know, dude. I made such a good play overnight. I made 20, and then I lost 7 of it in the New York session, man. I need to, adjust my
I'm
rules.
not trying to sound harsh.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you my own statistics. I day traded the ETFs for years.
I know.
So I know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was just, I got greedy. I time to time the top, and that's something you don't do. So, yeah.
So I called. Listen to this. I just say real shit. I called a SPY day trade, I think yesterday, and it dropped $1 within 15 minutes, and I sold most. After that, it was on a bull trend when I did that. What happened? It bounced at the 9 where I sold, and it ran $3. So yeah, I caught a dollar drop, but the overall trend was up, and it bounced off the 9 and went up $3. So if you actually bought calls at the top, you would have made more money.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Your brain is like, I'm not buying calls at the top.
I know, dude.
I do it. I do it all the time.
I didn't do it. I could have. I could have just. I was like, "There's no way it goes up." And if I'd gotten in the next 10 minutes, it moved up 40 points, and I'm like, "Bruh,
it's fucking crazy, right?"
That's like 10 G's right there, gone.
So. You buy meta puts at the top today. What happens? It keeps going up unless you caught it at a perfect time. Just so many things.
I don't know. I need to work on my just not doing dumb shit. So
you just started. Believe me, it's okay to do dumb. You gotta make a couple mistakes until you're like, damn, you're an idiot. When you're just gonna stop doing it,
I've done it for so. I mean, I don't do it often, right? But I was like, I felt like we were just so overextended, I was like, okay, you know what? 12, they're gonna drop it. So I got in some shorts, and then it just moved, and then it just went choppy. And, I took some profit. We had this flash crash, and then they bought it up. In that 1 minute candle, I was watching it. It was 40 points. That's $2 in a minute. I was like, what the fuck?
Let me tell you something. So I swung 2 call plays, and GS lost a lot of money in the beginning, but it wound up closing okay. So it could still make money, but I did sell. But okay, when at market close yesterday, in my head, I'm like, damn, we went up a lot. And basic people that don't know what they're doing are going to be like, we're up too much, I'm buying puts.
Me.
But you don't know where. Yeah, or you swing puts, but you're wrong. The market's going up, you don't swing puts, so you get wrecked when you're not supposed to. I swung meta calls and GS calls because in my head, we're going to keep going. And we did, so.
Yeah.
Don't ever think something's too high.
I know, dude. It's annoying because I haven't lost a trade this week, right? And then I lose a trade, and it was a trade that was so dumb to take,
It happens, bro. Believe me. I promise you, I do it. I'm not talking like I don't do it. I still do it from time to time.
Yeah.
But I never call that shit
Yeah.
for a reason. Like you, as you see, I don't really call plays or day trades that we get clapped on.
Yeah.
But I still get clapped sometimes though, and it's trying to buy puts when you think it's too high. Like,
Yeah. I want to see what we
yeah, I'll
do
do it sometimes.
overnight, and yeah, try to get in something.
Yeah. But
If you had gone and looked at the 4-hour time frame over the past 2 months, you would see on QQQ. I don't know what the equivalent is on NQ, but 474 is a huge level for QQQ.
Wait, who's talking?
It's Young Stratton.
Oh, Young Strat. Yo, what's up, man? I've never heard your voice before. I was like, who am I talking to? Okay, all right.
No, I'm sick right now too, so like
Oh, okay.
I had to drink some tequila.
Oh, okay. But yeah.
But yeah, that 474 level for QQQ, really big level for a lot of rejections, a lot of support in the last 2 months.
Okay.
So that's why I got into puts when we got to that level, because I knew we were going to get some type of drop.
Yeah. Makes sense.
120%, 150% in 30 minutes. That was nice.
Hell yeah. I need to. I haven't traded options in like a month. I need to like start doing that again, side by side.
all right, look, I'm gonna tell you, like, there's just some basic things to know about trading that like you can't learn from nowhere else except for me. I'm not trying to sound funny, but it's not like technical analysis. It's just like sayings and stuff. So when a company has news, it's gonna float in the air. Starbucks was a horrible play. It doesn't matter if it's up in the air and it looks like it's gonna come down. If you want to buy a put for a month and a half, you'll make money. But trading short term is probably not gonna work, because when a company has news like that, sellers aren't gonna start just dumping it back down. It's most likely gonna move sideways. So I called that play, and in my head, the half of my brain was like, it's probably gonna hold up, but I'm gonna try it. And when you do risky stuff, it's probably not gonna work. So that's why I don't really call stuff like that often, you know. And obviously it didn't work out. What's another one? Dell. So if you go look at Dell's chart, it kind of looked like it was about to go back down, but it held support for the last 2 days. I almost called Dell for a swing trade too last night, and Dell hit 300%. So we would have had Meta Dell. Like, that was a beautiful breakout setup. But
yeah,
it had good news. They're getting included to the S&P 500, so that's something that you think is gonna hold strong and go up. So that was my thought process behind that. Very simple. Good news, held support. Dell ripped 300% in 1 day in the morning. I need to start.
What's going on with Boeing? I haven't heard about. Are you guys still trading that Boeing?
No, I haven't traded that stock in months, so I'm not going to.
Oh, okay. I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
Tomorrow there is a news for Boeing, where the union strikers, the union leaders are engaged in strike or not. So I'm not.
There's too much news. There's no trend on it except for it's been going down, but it's been sideways. It has too much news. Certain stocks just don't trade. Just don't trade them. If Nvidia goes up and down $20 every week to the downside and upside, why would you trade anything else? Why? I trade the same stocks every week. I throw in different things from time to time. So I call like a firm last week. I do a firm sometimes. It was my first time doing BBY, but other than that, like, I keep it with the stuff I know, because when you start trading stuff you don't know, you probably didn't check to see if it has volume. You probably didn't check the open interest. You don't know how much it moves and stuff. So just, I would stay with stuff that you're familiar with, you know? At least that's what I do.
But you saved me. I really have to thank you, because I was my cons were like at 1.8 at some point of time, and the next day it opened at $82. Literally, like I was scared. But then you gave me the ASL, so I did average. But luckily I got out at 1.7 out of 5. So it was like just 25 to 30%, but still managed with your help to get out
Let
of
me
that.
ask you a question, and you could be honest. So if I didn't give you, like, if I didn't say what I said, would you have sold for a loss that day at open?
I was almost sold that contract, but I just stopped it because okay, there is some experienced trader who is giving me advice, so let me just stop it and see what it's going. It's not gonna hurt because I didn't load up much, but definitely it's a lesson for me.
Yeah,
I
it's
was
not even
actually
about
saving.
when you're learning. It's not about how much you really lose or make. It's about if you made the right decision. Because my thought process is like, would I have put 1,000 in this? You know, like when you're trading with small amount or big amount, you still want it to be a good play. So like Boeing, you had time on it, and you got messed up the first day, but you have time and it didn't hit your stop loss. So the what you do is you hold. There's no if, ands, or buts. You just hold.
Yeah,
So
so to correct it
uh,
right, so my stop loss was 40%. I was in percentage, but you gave me the number, right? So that was the helping thing that I didn't get out of the contacts.
yeah, you were down more than 40% though at one point, right?
Yeah, I was like
Yeah,
almost like a 55%.
yeah,
So I thought of getting out of that, but you gave me the number, and with that number, I stayed with that contract, and I started averaging down.
yeah. And like think about it like this. It's so simple. Okay. This is why percentage stop losses don't work, but you guys can do whatever you want. I see people day trading 5 different stocks for 30%. If that's what makes you happy, you can do that. I'm a whole one thing for 100, but um, what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought. What were you saying?
Stop loss.
Oh yeah, percentage stop losses don't work. You gotta know how contracts move. If something is moving hundreds of percents, who are you to sell something down 35%? It makes no sense. So Boeing opens down below your stop loss, but it's literally the first 1 to 2 days of 2 weeks of contract. So like it just you follow me? It just doesn't make sense. You don't sell, so gotta hold. You would have been so mad if you're like, oh, it hit my stop loss, I'm selling, and then it goes back green the next day. Like, it's crazy.
Hundreds of trades like that, it hits my stop loss and it went up. Uh, but the numbers, right? So it started working out. So let me see like how I can get those numbers.
Yeah,
Then
that's
it
why
will
I'm
come with
telling you.
surprises, but until then, I'm gonna get some numbers from you, and I'll stick with that.
Yeah, I mean, like, it works, man. Especially like in the beginning of the week. So, um, hold on, let me. So, if you're trading and you're in something, it might chop around a little bit, especially if you're swinging. But if your goal is that this is gonna be bullish and go up, just hold. Like it's okay to be down 30%. If it's gonna go up the next day, you're not gonna think about that. So that's why a lot of times people might be in stuff and then they sell it and it keeps going or whatever. So but if you're doing your own plays a lot, just trust what you see. Um, you know what I'm saying? So I could tell you. Like I said, the stuff I take usually keeps running. Um, yeah, I
One
still plan on
question.
doing that. I'll send the alert. I got you. I just haven't gotten to it yet. What's up, Ash?
Can I get your analysis on CMG, please? I think it's about to go up. It's on the uh, buying zone.
Yeah, it looks real good. I mean, I've been watching this setup for 2 weeks, so like it's the third time back at the same level. It's a clear level, so if it breaks out, you definitely want to take it. Now, if you entered already, you're assuming beforehand that it's gonna break 3 weeks of resistance, so you just got to be careful. Um, yeah, it's back to the resistance level. That's my analysis. If it breaks out, it's gonna go, and if it rejects, then it rejects. But it's really strong. Like a lot of times you want to take things before they break out. So like last week when it broke out on the weekly chart, it went stupid. And then this week when it broke the weekly chart, I mean the daily, my bad. When it broke out the last 2 days on the daily chart, like those were the plays, and then you want to buy calls now, but you might be buying at resistance. So I'd kind of try to get in plays and take them up to a level type of thing. But it doesn't look bad. Keep your eye on it. You see that double bottom? Like that chart is crazy. I love double bottoms. Like wait till you guys learn how to like just look at a chart and realize a pattern because it literally tells you to buy calls or buy puts. Like it's really simple, you know. I'm gonna show you one. Let me show you this. Look at this. This is crazy. All right. So if you know me, I teach you guys about moving averages. And when a stock hits a certain level, it bounces almost every time. Like I never see setups like this and they don't work. You just take high probability shit like this and you can make so much money. Once you learn how to manage stuff, finding the plays isn't that bad. It's just about maximizing your returns. So, okay, the last 4 days, this is what this stock did. And Rogue posted the flow about it too, okay? You can't make this up. Two things you're looking at, right? So, AVGO is a good stock, and it wound up dumping back down to the 200 EMA on the daily chart. So if a good stock goes down, are they going to buy it up? Yes. It bounced here last time. Am I going to buy it here? Yes. What candlestick did it have at the bottom? A hammer. What happened with the flow? They started loading millions of calls. You buy AVGO calls, it goes up every day. You make 500% in 3 days. That's an A plus setup. A double plus, triple plus. I'm not even trying to sound funny, but when you learn how to find stuff like this, and everybody's buying calls, is guaranteed. Like some setups are just really good setups, and you gotta see them. Like I know my bad, I didn't really direct signal AMD, but I did post it with some information before open. So if you would have taken it, you would have made a lot of money. But you know that was an explosive move. Like we gotta catch these explosive moves. Meta, like that's how you make good money. 2-3 plays like that a week, you can take a little loss. Your wins are probably gonna be bigger for that week. So I try to get a couple of nice plays a week. You know, nothing too crazy. Because if I put up like 400 or 500 on 100% plays, and then some of them are going to 200-300%, I'm already up over 1,500 on the week. I'm good with 2K a week. If I hit 7, that's great. But like you can literally make 1,500, 2K with, you know, not a lot of an investment. So 100% plays. That's why I kind of say I trade the same amount for every play. Because if I'm like this is gonna go 100%, and I put in 400, I know I can make 400. 400 off of one play is good. But depending on how many contracts I buy and stuff, obviously I can make more or less. But for the most part, you know, pretty consistent with the 100. So that's why I just put in what I think. I just keep it consistent. But yeah, I want to show you AVGO. That's a super basic breakdown, but like that's how I find bounces. And when you find bounces, you get paid. That's so fire to me. Like you have a hammer off of support, double bottom, bounce there before calls. It's wild. Just look at Nvidia's chart. They were buying Nvidia calls all week too. So whoever was like, "Oh, it's too high, I'm buying puts," you just did the completely wrong thing. Nvidia paid this week like big. You want to catch these moves? So Tuesday, okay, this is the strat. This is how I trade. It's so simple. All you need to know is the basics, and you won't lose as much money, and you'll hit bigger plays. So Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, no. Wednesday, Nvidia triggers the upside. 109. What happens? It rips. Okay. Today, you like Nvidia calls above 117. It breaks 117. It goes to like 122. So the strat, if something is going up, it should keep going up. If it's going down, it should keep going down. So Tuesday, it triggered that little baby inside hammer at the bottom and closed with like a doji. That day it triggered like 107 and went to 110. That's $3. That's like 70-80%. You take it the next day, it breaks out on the daily, it goes like it's very, very straightforward. AMD, I'll go over AMD again. Like this is such a perfect setup. Perfect. Perfect.
Which stock are you talking about? I asked for air. I'm sorry.
Right now,
Yeah.
AMD.
For air. Oh, right now AMD. Okay, thanks.
Okay. I don't post in the watch list all the time, but if you're bored and you want to go scroll through it, like most of the time they be hitting. So just keep it in mind if you want to. If OptionsKing is like, yo, AMD above here looks good. Hey, keep it in mind because it's probably gonna run. But so I'll just explain this real quick. Um, so AMD is an inside bullish setup, right? Where that purple arrow is. Inside days could either go to the upside or the downside the next day, but AMD basically was like at a low and it had a bullish candle inside, and I was bullish on chips. So I'm looking for a breakout the next day, right? That's why I posted it because I figured it would be explosive, and you can see once it broke that level, it had room to run. So when AMD breaks, it's gonna run. That's just what's gonna happen. You saw that rip. It went stupid. It triggers the next day, right? Once it broke 143, it went stupid. And then it's still on the uptrend today. It kind of opened down, but um, I mean AMD. That's very explosive. Like you know what I'm saying? That long wick candle on Wednesday. So if you swung calls from the first breakout of 139 into the next day, you would have been down a little bit on those, but that's why the strat is important. Like, just hear me out. So you might have been a little red on those contracts, but it never broke the previous day's low, and it basically went 50% of that candle. It's like called a 50% retracement. Rogue was talking about it. Oftentimes, a stock that opens inside day, like AMD did at the bottom, that purple arrow at the bottom, you see how that wick went 50% of that red candle and held and went to the upside? Like, if something holds 50% and closes higher, buyers are in control and it's probably going to go up. That's why I was looking for that. So you can keep that in mind. I call it the 50% rule. You know, if it rejects 50% of the top and is going down, that's bearish, and vice versa for the other way. So some explosive setups this week paid really good. Same shit, different week. AMD, Nvidia, like keep it simple. Like I said, I could have made more money. I've been watching Amazon like a hawk, and I never called it. You know, Dell would have been a banger. So, you know, sometimes I miss stuff, but they definitely would have paid really good. So I'm not mad. Yeah, CMG looks good. I like the chart you made. That's just another perspective. I know some people like to draw wedges and stuff, so that can give you another, point of view. Up to that level, or they gonna break it out. And then, the tighter it gets, the closer to the inside of it is when it breaks out. So, you just gotta be ready for that.
It's okay. And one last thing, like from my side, it's ARM 150 calls.
Who?
ARM.
Oh, ARM 150 calls. Nah,
Yes.
I'm gonna be mad looking at this chart because I had this set up on my radar too, but I can't catch all of them. But you see Tuesday, the hammer on the daily chart of ARM. That day, you're swinging calls, right? You're gonna swing calls. It fucking ripped, and I didn't swing calls, but I was in my head. I'm like, all I need is a number. ARM above 129 is gonna rip, and you see that day it broke 129 and just flew. So that was on my radar, and it would have paid. I'm telling you. So 150 calls for what next week? If you want them for next week, I mean the trend is up. So
Yeah.
um
Yeah. Next week.
yeah, I mean the trend is up. That's all I can tell you. The month has a hammer. I'll just tell you if price stays, I'll just give you a number. So you want ARM to stay above. You want ARM to hold above 138 and 130. If it breaks 138, that's a little bearish. If it breaks 130, that's really bearish. That's kind of like a bigger perspective. ARM can move a lot up and down. So, um, it's made a big move. So my point is, you want to give it room for a little slight pullback. If it does happen, just be careful loading calls after a huge rip. You just gotta keep that in mind because in your head you gotta be like, okay, QQQ went up $20 this week. Everything ripped. Do I really want to swing calls at the top? Now we can swing calls at the top on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday because we still got time for it to happen. But then over the weekend they could dump it if they want to, if that makes sense. So, um, I always keep into mind like what I'm swinging and how much it's went up or down. But other than that, yeah, momentum on the chips has been strong. But a lot of things went up a lot, so I take stuff day by day, week by week. This week was good for calls for the most part. Some puts hit, but I feel like mission's accomplished. Like I don't care what happens next week, but we went up a lot. So. Let's see what man. Hmm. Oracle. Oracle is a beast, bro. A beast. What a beast. Some stocks just be ripping. Those are the type of stocks I want to trade. Things be flying. And look how good Kava stock is. Like some stocks are just bad and some stocks are good. So it ripped up and had a huge breakout after earnings and went to like 130, and then it dropped down to 110 where like the a gap fill level was, and it held it and went right back to all-time highs. So if you ever own a stock that's moving like that, and I had some Kava today, that place is good. They ate that dip up. But yeah, guys, that's how my week went. I hope you've learned something. Feel free to ask me anything. I'm gonna hop off soon. But yeah, obviously I could just give plays, but at this point I don't. I literally tell you guys how I find my stuff. I'm not. I'm not assuming that you guys should just be doing that, but as you see, it works more times than not, and I try my best to. I want to just tell you guys how I do things, so you don't even have to ask me. Like streamline the process. Like I'll give you plays and information and help, and you just know what to do with it. Obviously, I'm gonna try my best to always say like when I'm selling or stopping out or something. But besides that, if I say I'm leaving runners, you should leave them how I leave them. Stuff like that, so we can all be on the same page. Cause like Believe me, I know how it is as a beginner trader. If you get in a play and make 40%, you might sell all of it. But why do we want to sell BBY at 40% if it could go to 150? You know, so I'm all about maximizing profits. I'm not the type of person that's going to tell you to sell stuff at 30% because that's not sustainable and you're not going to make money. You need to hit those $1,000 days, and it's very possible when you hold them. I give you guys countless examples. So I just want you to make the most money as you can and not lose a lot, because when I used to lose a lot, even if I won, like, you stay at break even. So limit those losses. We all lose. I lose sometimes. My Pan W runners got clapped, but I already sold some the day before. And then what else got clapped? I sold GS for a loss, but I put like 300 in it, so I only lost like 150. But yeah, trade smart. If you like what I do or think it works, hop on the bandwagon. But hope y'all had a good week and a good night. And well, like I said, if my swing trades don't work out and you got in, I got some day trades for tomorrow. So another successful week, and hope y'all have a good night. Hit me up if you need me.
See you later, bro.
See you.